Welcome back to Learning with me, Ms. Killen here at MPB. We're on our last lesson of Unit 10, Statistics with One Variable. So we're looking at Lesson 8 today, which is our outliers in a data set. I can interpret the effect that outliers have on shapes, centers, and the spread of the data set. We are looking at S-ID.3. So let's go ahead and jump into the lesson and see what we've got. Mr. Royal took a survey of his media arts class. He wants to know the average number of Snapchats that were sent per day. And here they are. Use the data and solve for the following. We want to find our mean, our median, and our mode. Well, I can go ahead and look at this and tell what some of these are. So let's look at the median, the middle. So I'm going to mark off and see if I can find that middle. So my middle or my median is 10. So let's find the mode. Which one do you see the most? Let's see. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 5s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 10s. So my mode is going to be 5. Now, Ms. Killen, I got to find that mean or that average. So I'm just going to put these numbers in my calculator like we've been doing since 7th grade. And I'm going to say 5 plus 5, 7 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 10, 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I'm going to put my 3 15s in. 1, 2, 3. Now, I have 7, 12, 13, 14, 15. I'm going to take this 130 and divide it by 15. And my mean or my average is we're going to put as 8.6 repeating. So we have figured out how to look at this different data set and find 3 of our 5 numbers. So now let's look at something a little different. What if we had these numbers and we wanted to find the mean, the median, the mode? Obviously, we would want to use our calculator. Some of our data that we will be given, it'll be easy to look at it and pull the information. Sometimes, like these numbers down here in the pink, we're going to need to use those calculator skills. So don't be afraid to jump into some of this data and say, hey, I can look at it and see this, or I can look at it and see that. But sometimes you're really going to want to use those calculator skills that we've learned. So don't be afraid to use those. So here we go. The next week, Royal's class has an exchange student from Germany join them. That Thursday, he again did the survey and collected data on the number of Snapchats sent. So here is what Mr. Royal collected. And again, we have the same data, but we've got something a little different. Now, apparently, our exchange student does a little bit more on Snapchat than the normal class did. So can you determine which measure of center will be most affected by the new student's values in the data set? Okay, so again, we want to look at mean, median, and mode. Well, we know what the mode is already. It's 5. We see it the most. But now our mean and our median. So let's see which one is affected by this new number. So let's go ahead and find that median, the middle. So again, like I did earlier, I'm just going to cross off till I can find the one in the middle, which is 10. So my median is still the same. So do you think by chance that this new number is going to affect my mean or my average? So let's go ahead and put those back in the calculator. So I've got 7 5s, and I'm going to plug in 7 5s. Then I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 10s. Then I had 3 15s. Now I have an 85. So now I have 215 divided by, let's see, 7 and 13, 18, 9, yeah. Okay, so I've got 7 and 5 is 12, and 3 is 15, one more is 16. Ms. Killen's having a hard time counting. So now my median is 13.4375. Ms. Killen, that's a little different than we saw a while ago. It's a good bit different. So could we maybe come up with something that says something that is extremely different than our normal data affects the mean? So when we have a point that is so far removed from our normal data, that is called our outlier. So I can say that my outlier affects my mean or my average. So a good note for us to put in our notes page or just somewhere we're taking notes, our outlier is extreme values affect the average. And that's very good note to have because we're going to have to use that for a couple more problems. So here we go. It says, does the exchange student's data point have a greater effect on the standard deviation or on our interquartile range? Well, let's see. Our interquartile range deals with Q3 and Q1, period. The middle 50% of our data. But our outlier is so far removed from our normal data set. Do you think it's bothering that interquartile range? It's not. So it's got to be our standard deviation. Well, Ms. Killen, why do you say it's our standard deviation? Because what did we say about standard deviation? It's the what? It's the distance between our data points and the what? The mean. So even though our outlier changes our mean, it's still the distance between that mean and that outlier. So it is going to affect our standard deviation or the spread of our data. All right, the extreme new point is called the outlier that we went over. It has a value very distant from our other points. It lies out of the norm from other data points. Which number in this set is an outlier? So I'm going to give you just a few seconds to look at these numbers. See if you can come up with an outlier. Exactly right. It's 87. You have kind of clustered together maybe between 3 and our 40-ish range, and then all of a sudden they throw you 87. So this would truly be our outlier. All right, so let's do some practice with this. In the next problem, use the data of tourists to identify mean, median, mode, and outlier or outliers, if any. So here we go. The table shows tourists visiting the Jackson Zoo to see penguins during a random 45-day span. So here is our different visits. So the first thing we need to do is plug this into our calculator and find our 5-number summary, so then we can figure out what these are. I want you to go ahead, using the information that you've been given, plug all of these numbers into your statistics key and find your 5-number summary plus your mean. Get those and come back to me. Okay, so now that you have found all those numbers in your calculator, what did we say our mean was? Exactly right, 31.425. Now, our median, the middle, what did we say that our middle is? What about the mode? Was there something that we see more than others? Well, I saw 26 and 25 about the same times. And was there an outlier? Yes. 93 is way out there. I don't know what was happening on that day, but we had a lot more visits than normal. Maybe the penguins was putting on a show. I don't know. But we had that as a really strong distance from our other norm data points. So we've answered these questions. So let's see if we can answer Mr. Penguin's question. Outliers blank cause the mean to blank. So our outliers of 93 cause the mean to what? It decreases. My mean decreased here. Plus, the our standard deviation did what? Since our mean decreased, our standard deviation is going to increase. And this right here is something that we need to definitely understand. When we have outliers, those means are going to change, and that standard deviation is also going to change with those. All right? So consider the following data from Mr. Jake's Bio 2 class, Snapchats per day. And here's our information. Predict what might be an outlier. How does your outliers affect the mean? What is the mean of the data set? How does the outlier affect the median? What measures of center would best describe the data, the mean or the median? How does the outlier affect the standard deviation? How does the outlier affect the IQR? And which measure of spread best describes the data, the standard deviation or the IQR? I'm going to let you work this. Work it either by yourself or you and your table partner. Once you get your answers, come back to me and let's see what we got. Okay, so now that you've had time to plug this into your calculator, find those 5-number summaries and your mean, let's go ahead and answer these questions. So we're going to predict what might be an outlier. Well, I'm seeing 0 as our outlier because everything is around that 20 to 30 to 40, and then we have 0. So 0 is our outlier. So how does the outlier affect the mean? It's going to decrease. Yes. What is the mean of this data set? Well, the mean of the data set is 33.53 repeating. How does the outlier affect the median? Well, the median we said was 36 and it stays the same. If I took my 0 out and just got my information of just the other numbers, my median, the middle, is still going to be that 36. It's going to be the exact same. If I looked at that mean without the 0, it would be 35.9285. So we can see that the mean does decrease with that 0. So number 5 says, what measures of center would best describe the data, the mean or the median? Well, the mean is the average, and then the center that we're looking for is going to be our median. How does the outlier affect our standard deviation? Well, it makes the standard deviation bigger because we have to go from our mean, which is our average, all the way down to 0. So it's going to make it bigger. And then it says, how does the outlier affect our IQR? It doesn't. There is no change in the IQR because that is only the middle 50% of our data. And then which measure of spread describes the data? The standard deviation or the IQR? Obviously, it is our standard deviation. So good job. Another time for you to master. Let's make sure that we read the passage and questions completely before we start working. You always want to make sure that you're getting all the information that you can. It says, after going to the Memphis Zoo to see the penguins, a group of college students were asked how many times they rode the train at the zoo. The following data was recorded. So first thing we want to do is plug this into our calculator, get that information so we can answer our questions. I'm going to give you time for you or you and your table partner to plug this into your calculator, get what you need, and come back, and then we'll answer the questions together. Okay, you've had time to plug this into your calculator. You've got your statistic 5-number summary. And so now let's see what we've got. Let's put what we know. We know that our mean is 4.57. Our minimum is 1. Our Q1 is 3. Our median or middle is 4. Our Q3 is 5. And then obviously the max is 19. So then it says, are there any outliers of this data? If so, what are they? Yes, 19 is definitely an outlier. Are you sure, Miss Killen? Well, let's see. Everything else is a single digit, and then we shoot up to 19. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that's going to be our outlier. All right, then it says the outlier causes the blank to get greater than the blank. All right, so it causes the mean to get greater than the median. In this instant, my mean is greater than our median, and we see that. If the outlier was changed to a 6, the IQR would be blank and the standard deviation would be blank. Well then, let's do that. Let's take out the 19 and put a 6. So what you're going to do is you're going to go back into your calculator, go back to your L1, under statistics and delete 19 and put 6 in there, and then go back and recalculate that 5-number summary. Do that and come back and we'll see what we got. Okay, now that you've replaced that number, I have my new mean as 3.64. Obviously, my minimum is still 1. My Q1 is 3. My median is 4. My Q3 is 5. My maximum is 6. So what happens to that interquartile range? Let's see, 4 minus, nope, not 4, excuse me, 5 minus 3 is 2. 5 minus 3 is 2. So that interquartile range stays the same. And the standard deviation does what? Well, I'm not having to go all the way to 19 from my 4.57. I'm now going from 6 to my 3.64. So my standard deviation is going to decrease. And we obviously have already found the mean and the median for our data set with 19 and without, but the mode, what did we say the mode was? What do you see the most? Let's see, I have 1 5, 2 5, 3 5s, 1 2 3 4 4s. So I would say that my mode is 4. Good job, guys. I really like how we're having to find information with one type of data set, then go back and maybe change a number or two to find those statistics of that same data set with a few changes. So you always want to make sure that you're reading completely what you're going to use. All right, so it says, don't forget, an outlier is extreme from the other data points. It lies outside of the norm. What does an outlier affect? Well, we found out that an outlier is affecting our mean or our average. And a fun fact about penguins, they give pebbles as gifts. So I want us to keep waddling on. We're almost done with Algebra 1. We have one more unit in our Algebra 1, but we are to the end of our Unit 10. So as always, I want you to have a great day.